The alarms blared through the surgical bay of the interstellar medical vessel Asteria as Daniel Blackwood's body convulsed violently on the operating table. Blood spattered across the pristine white floor, its crimson droplets forming a constellation of human vulnerability amid alien precision. The chief surgeon, Vexel, a Medusan with 8 slender arms and skin the color of burnished copper, moved with practiced efficiency despite never having operated on a human before. "Vital signs crashing," announced Telmar, the anesthesiologist whose translucent blue skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that reflected his growing concern. Heart rate erratic, blood pressure dropping rapidly. "Apply cardiac stabilizers," Vexel ordered, 2 of his 8 hands already preparing the specialized tools while another pair worked to contain the bleeding from Daniel's chest cavity. "This human physiology is more fragile than our simulations suggested." Daniel had been the victim of a freak accident aboard the joint human-alien mining operation on Proxima Centauri b. A pressure seal had ruptured, sending a metal shard straight through his chest, puncturing his heart. By sheer luck, the Asteria had been docked nearby, participating in a medical exchange program between Earth and the Galactic Medical Confederation. Daniel was their first human patient, and now he was dying under their care. "The human heart structure is failing," said Nerix, the assistant surgeon whose 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession as they monitored the holographic display of Daniel's internal organs. "The damage is too extensive for conventional repair." Vexel hesitated for only a moment. "We'll need to use the regenerative matrix. Prepare a template based on human cardiac tissue." The surgical team moved with renewed urgency. The regenerative matrix was an advanced alien technology that could rebuild damaged organs using the patient's own genetic material as a blueprint. It had never been tested on humans before. "Sir," Telmar said, voice dropping to a concerned whisper, "I'm detecting abnormal tissue formations around the human's heart. They appear to be impediments to proper healing." Vexel examined the holographic display. Strange, fibrous tissue surrounded parts of Daniel's heart different from the smooth muscle they expected to see. "Remove all non-functional tissue," Vexel commanded. "Those fibrous formations will interfere with the regenerative process." Nerix extended a precision laser scalpel. "Removing scar tissue now." "Scar tissue." Vexel's upper eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Human medical records indicate this is called scar tissue, a crude biological response to previous damage," Telmar explained, reviewing Daniel's medical file. "It appears the human has undergone cardiac surgery before, approximately 7 Earth years ago." "Inefficient," Vexel muttered. "Their bodies replace functional tissue with this fibrous barrier? Remove it all before we proceed." As Nerix's laser began to cut away the scar tissue, the monitors erupted with warnings. Daniel's heart rate plummeted, and the remaining undamaged section of his heart began to fail. "Stop," shouted Telmar. "The removal of the scar tissue is causing catastrophic decompensation." Vexel's copper skin darkened with concern.
Impossible.
"The tissue is non-functional." "Apparently not," Telmar replied, fingers dancing across the biointerface controls. "According to these readings, the scar tissue is providing structural support to the damaged heart chambers.
It's
Acting as reinforcement." Vexel stared at the human's exposed heart, watching as it struggled to beat. The scar tissue, rather than being a hindrance as they had assumed, was integrated into the heart's function, supporting it like the buttresses of ancient human architecture. "Fascinating," Vexel whispered. "Cease removal procedures. We must recalibrate our approach." The medical emergency aboard the Asteria had just become a scientific revelation. Human scar tissue, far from being the useless artifact the alien medical community had always believed, appeared to serve a vital purpose. And understanding it might be the key to saving Daniel Blackwood's life. "The human is stabilizing, but only temporarily," Telmar reported. "We have perhaps 20 minutes before complete cardiac failure." Vexel activated the ship's communication system. "This is Chief Surgeon Vexel. I need immediate consultation with Dr. Zemler in xenobiology. We have encountered an unforeseen adaptation in human physiology." While waiting for the xenobiologist, Vexel studied the structure of Daniel's heart more carefully. The scar tissue, rather than being randomly distributed, formed a precise network of support around the previously damaged areas. It was almost as if the human body had created its own living surgical reinforcement. "Doctor," called Nerix, "I've analyzed the composition of the human scar tissue. It contains a significantly higher density of collagen fibers than our database predicted." "Could we use that?" Vexel wondered aloud. "Could we adapt the regenerative matrix to incorporate rather than replace the scar tissue?" The surgical bay doors slid open as Dr. Zemler entered. Unlike the humanoid medical staff, Zemler was a Thoraxianus species resembling a 2-meter-tall praying mantis, with iridescent green exoskeleton and compound eyes that caught the light in rainbow patterns. "I came as quickly as possible," Zemler said, mandibles clicking softly as he spoke. "What have we discovered?" Vexel gestured to the holographic display. "Human scar tissue. We've always considered it an inefficient response to injury, a biological placeholder at best. But in this case, it appears to be actively supporting cardiac function." Zemler leaned forward, compound eyes shifting to enhance his vision. "Remarkable. In Thoraxian medicine, we would have removed such formations immediately. They serve no purpose in our physiology." "Nor in most species we've encountered," Vexel agreed. "Yet here, removal destabilizes the entire organ." Daniel's vital signs wavered again, the numbers on the monitoring equipment flashing in urgent warning. "We're running out of time," Telmar warned. 15 minutes at most." Zemler's antennae twitched in thought. "Perhaps we've been thinking about this incorrectly. What if the scar tissue isn't just supporting the heart? What if it's part of the heart now?" Vexel considered this. A biological adaptation. The human body integrating its own repair mechanism permanently into the organ. "Exactly," Zemler said, excitement evident in the rapid movements of his forelimbs. "We shouldn't be trying to remove it, we should be trying to enhance it." Vexel's 8 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep consideration among Medusans. "Recalibrate the regenerative matrix. Instead of using only healthy cardiac tissue as a template, incorporate the scar tissue pattern as well." "Sir?" Nerix looked uncertain. "That contradicts all standard medical protocols." "This human contradicts our understanding of biology," Vexel replied firmly. "We must adapt or lose him." The surgical team worked frantically to reprogram the regenerative matrix. Daniel's body temperature had begun to drop as his circulatory system failed, and his skin had taken on a pale, bluish tint. "Matrix recalibrated," announced Telmar finally. "But I must warn you, this is completely experimental." "Proceed," Vexel ordered. The regenerative matrix, a gelatinous, slightly luminescent substance, was carefully injected into the damaged areas of Daniel's heart. Unlike standard procedure, they left the existing scar tissue intact, allowing the matrix to bond with both healthy tissue and scar tissue alike. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Daniel's vital signs continued their gradual decline. "It's not working," Nerix said, a note of defeat in their voice. "Wait," Zemler interjected, pointing one sharp-tipped limb at the holographic display. "Look at the interface between the scar tissue and the matrix." On the high-resolution display, tiny filaments of the matrix had begun to interweave with the collagen-rich scar tissue, creating a hybrid structure that maintained the supportive properties of the scar while incorporating the regenerative capabilities of the alien technology. "It's working," Vexel breathed. "The matrix is using the scar tissue as a framework." Slowly, Daniel's vital signs began to stabilize. His heart, now a unique combination of human biology and alien technology, found a steady rhythm. The team watched in amazement as the regenerative matrix, guided by the existing pattern of scar tissue, rebuilt the damaged portions of the heart. "I've never seen the matrix behave this way," Telmar said. "It's almost as if the scar tissue is directing the regeneration." Vexel nodded slowly. "Because the scar tissue already contains the blueprint for repair. The human body had already begun the process. We simply provided the resources to complete it." As Daniel's condition stabilized, Vexel turned to Zemler. "This discovery changes everything we thought we knew about human wound healing. Scar tissue isn't just a stopgap measure, it's an integral part of the repair process." "More than that," Zemler replied, "it suggests that human healing has evolved to incorporate past injuries into future resilience. The very thing we considered a flaw may be one of their greatest strengths." The surgery concluded successfully, with Daniel's heart now stronger than it had been before the accident. The hybrid of human scar tissue and alien regenerative matrix had created something entirely new, a heart that carried the memory of past damage, but used that memory as reinforcement against future harm. As the surgical team prepared to move Daniel to recovery, Vexel made a final entry in the medical log. "Human scar tissue has proven to be not a deficiency, but an adaptation, one that may revolutionize regenerative medicine throughout the galaxy." Daniel Blackwood drifted in and out of consciousness, the sterile white ceiling of the recovery bay swimming in and out of focus above him. Strange beeping sounds filled his ears, not quite like the hospital equipment he was familiar with from Earth. Then he remembered he wasn't on Earth. He was aboard an alien medical ship. "The patient is regaining consciousness," said a voice that sounded almost human, but with an odd resonance that made Daniel's skin prickle. He tried to speak, but his throat felt like sandpaper. A cool sensation spread across his neck, and suddenly the discomfort vanished. "Better?" asked the voice. Daniel turned his head slightly to see a blue-skinned being with 4 arms standing beside his bed. One hand held what appeared to be a medical scanner, while another adjusted something on a nearby console. "Yes," Daniel managed, surprised by how normal his voice sounded. "What happened to me?" "You experienced a severe cardiac trauma," the alien Telmar, according to the name displayed on a holographic badge hovering above one shoulder, explained. "A pressure seal rupture sent debris through your chest cavity, causing significant damage to your heart." The memories came flooding back, the sudden decompression alarm, the searing pain, the darkness that followed. Daniel's hand instinctively moved to his chest, expecting to feel a massive wound or at least bandages. Instead, his fingers met smooth skin. "There's no incision," he said, confused.
Correct.
"We utilized non-invasive regenerative technology after the initial emergency surgery." Telmar's skin pulsed with gentle blue light patterns that somehow conveyed professional satisfaction. "Your recovery has been remarkable, even by our standards." The door to the recovery bay slid open, and a copper-skinned being with 8 arms and eyes entered. Daniel recognized this as a Medusan. He'd seen them before at the mining colony, though never this close. "Mr. Blackwood," the Medusan said, "I am Chief Surgeon Vexel. I led the team that performed your cardiac reconstruction. How are you feeling?" "Better than I should be, apparently," Daniel replied, attempting to sit up. To his surprise, he managed it with only mild discomfort. "Shouldn't I be in more pain after heart surgery?" "Our pain management systems are quite advanced," Vexel said, moving closer to examine the holographic displays above Daniel's bed. "But your rapid recovery is not solely due to our technology. Your body's own adaptations played a crucial role." Daniel frowned. "My adaptations?"
Yes.
"Specifically, the scar tissue surrounding your heart from your previous surgery." Daniel absently touched the faded scar that ran down his sternum, a remnant of the heart valve replacement he'd undergone 7 years earlier after a childhood condition finally required surgical intervention. "That old thing? I thought scar tissue was just, well, useless leftover stuff." Vexel's copper skin darkened slightly, an expression Daniel couldn't interpret. That is precisely what we believed as well. It seems we were both incorrect. The door opened again, and a tall, insectoid alien entered. Daniel recognized the species as Thraxian, though he'd only ever seen them in educational materials during his pre-deployment training. "Ah, Dr. Zemler," Vexel said. "Our patient is awake and curious about his condition." The Thraxian approached, compound eyes shifting and refracting light in fascinating patterns. "Mr. Blackwood, your case has become quite notable among our research community. May I?" The alien gestured toward the monitoring equipment. Daniel nodded, still trying to process the situation. "I don't understand. What's so special about my case?"
Dr.
Zemler activated a holographic display above Daniel's bed. A three-dimensional image of a human heart, presumably Daniel's, appeared in the air between them. Certain areas glowed with a distinctive pattern, standing out from the rest of the tissue. "This is your heart," Zemler explained, one sharp-tipped appendage pointing to the glowing sections. "And these highlighted areas represent scar tissue from your previous surgery." Daniel nodded. "My valve replacement. The doctors told me there would always be scarring." "Indeed," Vexel interjected. "What they likely did not tell you, because they themselves may not have fully understood, is that this scar tissue has become an integral structural component of your heart." Daniel looked between the aliens, confusion evident on his face. "I don't follow." Zemler adjusted the hologram, zooming in on one section. "In most species we have encountered, including our own, scar tissue is merely a biological placeholder, a hasty repair that sacrifices function for speed. But human scar tissue, particularly cardiac scar tissue, appears to integrate into the organ itself, providing additional support while maintaining flexibility. When the metal fragment damaged your heart," Vexel continued, "it should have caused catastrophic failure. However, the existing scar tissue actually prevented complete rupture of the cardiac wall. It had grown stronger than the original tissue." Daniel stared at the hologram, watching as it simulated the injury and showed how the scar tissue had held when healthy tissue tore. "So you're saying my old surgery scar saved my life?" "More than that," Telmar added. "It revolutionized how we performed your reconstruction. Initially, we attempted to remove what we believed was non-functional tissue. This nearly killed you. We then realized our error," Vexel said, "and instead incorporated the scar tissue into our regenerative process. The result was something completely unexpected, a hybrid tissue with greater tensile strength than either natural human tissue or our regenerative matrix alone." Daniel sat in silence for a moment, processing this information. "So my heart is now part alien technology and part old scar?" "And part healthy human tissue," Zemler clarified. "A true interspecies collaboration at the cellular level." Despite the seriousness of the situation, Daniel couldn't help but laugh. "Wait until the guys at the mining colony hear about this. I've got the galaxy's first tribrid heart." The aliens exchanged glances, clearly not expecting this reaction. "You seem to be taking this rather well," Vexel observed. Daniel shrugged, then winced slightly as the motion pulled at his healing chest. "I nearly died on an alien planet light years from home. Being alive with a weird heart seems like a pretty good alternative." "A logical assessment," Zemler agreed, antennae twitching in what might have been appreciation. "So, what happens now?" Daniel asked. "We will continue to monitor your recovery for another few Earth days," Vexel explained. "But all indications suggest you will make a full recovery. Better than full. Actually, your heart is now approximately 23% stronger than the average human heart." "There is another matter," Zemler added, his tone shifting to something more serious. "The Galactic Medical Confederation has expressed great interest in your case. This discovery about human scar tissue has significant implications for regenerative medicine throughout known space." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What kind of implications?" The ability to incorporate damaged tissue into functional new structures could revolutionize treatment for injuries across thousands of species, Bexel explained. Most regenerative approaches focus on replacing damaged tissue entirely. The human approach, reinforcing and repurposing, offers an entirely new paradigm. The Confederation would like your permission to conduct further non-invasive studies, Zemler said. Nothing that would require additional surgery, merely detailed scans and tissue sampling. You would, of course, be generously compensated. Daniel considered this for a moment. So my old surgery scar could help develop new medical treatments? Precisely, Bexel confirmed. Your specific case, a heart that had already adapted to previous damage before suffering new trauma, provides a unique research opportunity. Daniel thought about the heart valve surgery that had plagued his childhood and adolescence, the countless hospital visits, the limitations on physical activity, the uncertainty about his future. The idea that something positive could come from that experience was appealing. I'll help however I can, he decided. But I do need to get back to my job eventually. I've got contracts to fulfill. Understandable, Bexel said. The initial studies can be conducted here aboard the Asteria while you recover. After that, arrangements can be made that will not interfere with your work obligations. Daniel nodded, then glanced again at the holographic heart floating above his bed. Can I ask a potentially stupid question? There are no stupid questions in medicine, Telmar assured him, skin pulsing in what Daniel was beginning to recognize as a friendly pattern. If human scar tissue is so useful, why do your species not develop something similar? The three aliens exchanged glances again, this time with what appeared to be genuine interest. An excellent question, Zemler said. Different evolutionary paths have led to different healing strategies. Most advanced species evolved rapid regeneration capabilities, essentially replacing damaged cells with identical new ones. This approach allows for faster healing and minimal loss of function, Bexel added. But it has limitations. Complete regeneration requires significant energy and resources. Humans, it seems, evolved a more economical approach, Telmar continued. Rather than fully regenerating damaged tissue, which would be energy-intensive, your bodies create a structural reinforcement that, while not identical to the original tissue, may actually be better suited to prevent similar injuries in the future. So, we trade perfect healing for stronger healing? Daniel asked. In simple terms, yes, Zemler confirmed. Your bodies learn from damage and adapt accordingly. The scar tissue around your heart was not randomly formed, it was strategically placed along stress points from your previous surgery. Daniel laughed again. So, humans are the galaxy's bodily repair cheapskates? We just patch things up instead of replacing them properly? I would characterize it as efficient rather than cheap, Bexel said, his tone suggesting he might be missing the humor. Especially since we now know the patch, as you call it, can be stronger than the original. Over the next few days, Daniel's recovery progressed rapidly. The alien medical staff continued to monitor his condition, marveling at how the hybrid heart tissue was functioning. Daniel found himself the center of attention aboard the Asteria, with various specialists visiting to observe the miracle heart that had survived seemingly unsurvivable damage. 1 week after the surgery, Daniel was sitting up in his recovery pod, reviewing mining reports on a tablet that Telmar had helped him sync with the alien computer systems, when Bexel entered with a human woman in a white lab coat. Mr. Blackwood, Bexel said, allow me to introduce Dr. Brenda Donovan, the human medical liaison for the Galactic Medical Confederation. She has traveled from the Central Research Station to meet you. Dr. Donovan stepped forward, extending her hand. Daniel shook it, noting the firm grip and professional demeanor. Mr. Blackwood, it's an honor to meet you, she said. Your case has caused quite a stir in both human and alien medical communities. So I've heard, Daniel replied, though I'm still not sure why everyone's so excited about some old scar tissue. Dr. Donovan smiled. Let me put it this way, what happened to you may change how we approach regenerative medicine for the next century. The ability of human scar tissue to integrate with alien regenerative technology wasn't just unexpected, it was thought to be impossible. She activated a tablet of her own, bringing up a series of medical images. These are scans of other human patients with various injuries. We've always focused on minimizing scarring, believing it to be inferior to unscarred tissue. But now we're reviewing thousands of cases where scar tissue may actually be providing benefits we never recognized. Daniel glanced at Vexel. So, I'm not unique? Your case is unique in that it involved critical cardiac damage that intersected with previous scarring, Vexel explained. But the principle may apply to all humans. You were simply the first case where we were forced to recognize the value of what we had previously dismissed. Dr. Donovan nodded.
Exactly.
We've always known that scar tissue serves a purpose in the initial healing process, but we've viewed it as a necessary compromise, a quick fix until proper healing could occur. But what if that's wrong? What if scar tissue is the body's way of creating stronger repair points? The implications extend beyond human medicine, Vexel added. If we can understand how human scar tissue forms and functions, we may be able to adapt the process for species that currently lack this ability. Daniel considered this for a moment. So, my accidental heart surgery might help heal people across the galaxy? That's the hope, Dr. Donovan confirmed. The Confederation has already approved funding for a major research initiative based on your case. We're calling it the Adaptive Healing Project. And they want me to be part of it? Daniel guessed. If you're willing, Dr. Donovan said. Your unique cardiac structure, part human tissue, part scar tissue, part alien regenerative matrix, represents a medical first. Regular monitoring of how these elements interact could provide invaluable data. Daniel thought about the mining job he'd come to Proxima Centauri B to do. It was good money, but ultimately just another contract. This sounded like something more meaningful. What would I need to do? Initially, just allow us to continue non-invasive monitoring, Vexel explained. Later, perhaps participate in controlled stress tests to evaluate how your heart responds to various conditions. The Confederation would cover all expenses, Dr. Donovan added, including compensation for any time away from your regular work. Daniel nodded slowly. When you put it that way, it seems like a small price to pay for getting to keep living. 3 months later, Daniel stood at the observation window of the Galactic Medical Confederation's primary research facility orbiting Jupiter. Below him, the massive gas giant swirled in endless storms of amber and cream, while Earth hung like a distant blue marble in the blackness beyond. Beautiful view, isn't it? Said a now familiar voice. Daniel turned to see Dr. Donovan approaching, tablet in hand as usual. Never gets old, he agreed. How are the latest tests looking? Remarkable, she said, bringing up a holographic display between them. The integration between your natural tissue, scar tissue, and the alien matrix continues to strengthen. Your heart is now functioning at approximately 130% of normal human efficiency. Daniel smiled. Not bad for a mining engineer with a patched-up ticker. Far more than patched up, corrected Vexel, entering the observation lounge with Semler. Your heart has become the template for an entirely new approach to organ reconstruction. In the months since his surgery, Daniel had grown accustomed to the different alien species that staffed the research station. Vexel's copper skin and multiple arms no longer seemed strange, nor did Semler's insectoid appearance. They had become colleagues, friends, even united by the unexpected discovery his injury had revealed. The first clinical trials using the Blackwood Protocol began yesterday, Semler announced, antennae quivering with excitement. 3 patients, 1 human, 1 Medusan, and 1 Thoraxian, all with severe organ damage that would have been irreparable under traditional approaches. The Blackwood Protocol? Daniel repeated, raising an eyebrow. You named it after me? It seemed appropriate, Dr. Donovan said with a smile. After all, your heart was the proof of concept. Daniel shook his head, still amazed at how his life had changed. What had begun as a routine mining assignment had transformed into a groundbreaking medical discovery. His childhood heart condition, once a source of limitation and frustration, had ultimately led to an advancement that could help countless beings across the galaxy. The Confederation Council has also approved your proposal, Bexel added. The Adaptive Healing Initiative will receive full funding for the next 5 Earth years. This had been Daniel's idea, using the principles discovered in his case to develop new treatments specifically for populations with limited access to advanced medical care. If bodies could be taught to heal themselves more effectively using their own scar tissue as a framework, even remote colonies might benefit without requiring sophisticated medical facilities. That's excellent news, Daniel said. When can we start? The research team is already being assembled, Dr. Donovan replied. They're eager to have you join them. Your perspective as both patient and engineer has proven invaluable. Daniel turned back to the observation window, gazing out at the stars beyond Jupiter. Somewhere out there, a piece of metal had torn through his chest, nearly ending his life. Instead, it had opened a new chapter not just for him, but potentially for medicine throughout known space. You know, he said thoughtfully, before all this happened, I used to hate my surgical scar. I'd look at it in the mirror and only see weakness, a reminder of all the things I couldn't do as a kid because of my heart condition. And now? Zumler asked. Daniel placed his hand over his chest, feeling the steady, powerful beat of his hybrid heart. Now I see it differently. That scar wasn't a sign of weakness, it was my body building something stronger, where I'd been broken. A poetic but also scientifically accurate assessment, Bexel noted. Your species has much to teach us about adaptation and resilience. And we have much to learn from you about technological solutions, Daniel replied. Seems like the perfect partnership. As the 4 of them stood together, watching the slow dance of planets against the backdrop of stars, Daniel felt a profound sense of connection not just to these alien beings who had saved his life, but to the greater universe they all shared. His heart, now a unique fusion of human biology and alien technology, seemed a fitting symbol of that connection. What comes next? He asked finally. That, said Dr. Donovan, is what we're going to find out together. In the years that followed, the discovery made aboard the Asteria continued to transform medicine throughout the galaxy. The Blackwood Protocol became standard practice for severe organ damage, combining regenerative technology with the patient's own healing mechanisms to create repairs that were stronger than the original tissue. Research stations dedicated to studying adaptive healing sprang up throughout human and alien space, with Daniel Blackwood serving as a special advisor and living proof of the concept's success. His hybrid heart continued to function flawlessly, growing stronger rather than weaker with time, exactly the opposite of what conventional medicine would have predicted. Perhaps most significantly, the revelation about scar tissue changed how species throughout the galaxy viewed healing. What had once been considered an imperfection, a mark of damage, was now understood as evidence of the body's wisdom, creating reinforcement where it was most needed. And on medical ships and in hospitals across countless worlds, surgeons of all species learned to look at scars with new respect, not as flaws to be minimized, but as guides to be followed, showing the way towards stronger, more adaptable healing. For Daniel Blackwood, whose life had been saved by the scar tissue he once despised, this new understanding brought a sense of completion. The weakness he had carried since childhood had proven to be strength in disguise, a perfect metaphor for the unexpected resilience that living beings throughout the universe shared. His heart, bearing the scars of his past and the technology of his future, beat steadily on, a testament to what could be achieved when different worlds combined their knowledge in service of healing.